All right, welcome back everybody. This week's gonna be jumping into the epic Who album, Who's Next, from 1971. And this is the second track off of that album, I believe. In the running order, this is Bargain by The Who. And this has got a little bit of everything. If you love Pete Townshend's guitar playing, which I do, it's got some epic acoustic stuff that's representative of his style. And it's got some great electric stuff that's representative of his style, all wrapped up into this song. And there's some sort of fishy stuff going on with the tunings on this if you want to play it like the record. So I'm going to break all that down for you, the acoustic and the electric parts for you today. So if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell. Bell's going to tell you when I drop new content, and I do that every single week. All my videos have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, just like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or even better, you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons I do on YouTube, just like this one. Links in the description, so check it out. All right, so Bargain. So first thing, we're going to talk about the tuning on here. So it's a standard tuned guitar, but he capos it up on the first fret. Okay, and on the record he plays the acoustic part is a 12-string part, and I've got an acoustic 12-string, so that's what I'm going to do. But it sounds epic with a 6-string too, if that's all you got. So one of the things as I go through here, by the way, I'm going to call these chord shapes like by their shape. Like I'm going to pretend that there's not a capo on there, right? So I'm going to call this like an A, and I'll try and say the word A shape. But when you make that with the capo on it, it's actually a B flat. So the chart's going to have the right pitch reference on there, but I'm going to call it, you know, by the normal sort of chord shape that we're used to if we weren't playing with the capo. Hope that made sense. We're going to start with the opening. So the opening on this is a mix between acoustic and electric. I'm going to do all the acoustic parts first, and then we'll come back around and do all the electric stuff after. So the two chords that you're going to open up with are sort of like an A, it's like an A dominant 7 suspended. It's a sus4, I think. And you're going to oscillate between that and a normal A7 shape. And the strum pattern is like, so da 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 with the emphasis on that downstroke. And that's it for the intro sort of acoustic. Now we get into the verses, and the verses are just vintage Pete acoustic style. Everything's about making a statement, you know, so there's lots of super fast strum, you know, and hammer-on chords, right? So the chord shapes that we're going to do here are very interesting. There's a lot more going on than I thought was. So the first shape we're going to come in with is, like I said, the song's sort of in B flat, right? So when you make an A shape, you sort of go open, and then that's your B flat, but I'm going to call it A. And then we're going to go back, we're going to go to an F shape to a C, and then a G shape to a D. So if you want to think of, like, you know, the chords, if you just strip everything down, the chords are basically A, A, C to D shape. But he never plays that. It's always the sort of fourth, it's always the chord that's the fourth away to resolve on the chord that you want to land on. So F, C, G, D. that vibe going on in there. And it's just that little piece of a G. So very slowly. All that, and that great busy right hand stuff worked in there too. So you go around one more time, and you come to your chorus. And your chorus chords are the F shape, G shape, and your D shape. And then while that hangs, he's doing this, you know, that kind of stuff sort of in the background to build tension and anticipation. The best I ever had. And then you're back into your verse formation. Well, the guitar plays a little lead there for a measure or two. So that's sort of the verse and the chorus formation. Then we come to our bridge part, and very pretty. It's a complete departure from the hard strumming stuff, and Pete's going to move to sort of a arpeggio pattern, and it's going to go, the way he's going to sort of approach that arpeggio is he's moving kind of from the root string down to the first string in a sort of that direction, and then working his way back, and you sort of end on the fifth string, I think, every time. But it's but the chords are like a D or D shape. Then you're going to stretch your pinky to do like a D over D flat. It's like you're doing a D major 7 sort of kind of thing. And then you're making this C based shape, or C plus 2 shape. We're going to go down one more fret and up a fret. So those are the chords. And the picking pattern is about like this. So you hear that na na. It's always the D string and then the A string. You know. So I think that's the pattern that he's striking. He may mix it up a little bit, but that's sort of the main thing that it settles down into. And then you just repeat it again. How you transition out of this now is interesting. It sounds very major when you listen to it on the record, but it's not. He clearly plays an E minor and an A2, and then he goes back into his right. So coming out of that last one, that's the sequence coming out of that. I thought that was very cool. E minor, A, and then to your original piece. So the rest of the song, in terms of acoustic guitar, is just the same as what we've learned. It goes through a verse formation and a chorus. And this last chorus, it does some extra measures of that. Forget how many, but it just hangs on that a little longer, and then it goes to your, you know, your verse formation while the guitar plays a lead. And then it settles back into our very original and that sort of builds over time, and the strum sort of picks up energy as it goes. It gets to a point where it's doing. Before it calms down and ends with that. So those are all the acoustic parts for Bargain. Just great. So capo on the first fret, loose with your picking hand wrist, and yeah, just move quickly with those chord changes as Pete does all the time. Now let's talk about the electric stuff that he's doing. All right, let's talk about the fun electric that Pete's laying down on this song. So I believe this was in the era where he was playing his single cutaway. I've got a double cutaway, but he had a single cutaway Gretsch 6120 that he was playing through, I think, a 310-inch speaker Bandmaster, a Tweed Bandmaster, with the volume pedal. All three of those things, by the way, given to him by Joe Walsh, just gifted to him. Like, here, you should have this. And it was like such a defining part of the sound of the early 70s with Pete, at least in the studio and with The Who. Anyway, so I'm going to go with my 67. And gets a pretty damn good sound with it. So all the details of my signal chain are going to be below if you're curious. So the electric part, oh, but before I start, tuning. So the interesting thing about the tuning that he has on electric is, you remember the acoustic was a standard tune and it was capoed on the first fret. What Pete does with the electric is he actually tunes it down a half a step. So everything is, you know, the lowest is E flat. So yeah, it's just a half step down tuning, and it allows him to get those big, that low note when it goes to that chord instead of dealing with standard tuning. Anyway, great effect, right? So that's the tuning situation. Otherwise, you're, you know, just E flat, half step tune, every string. There you go. So same thing, I'm going to call out the shape of the chords as I'm doing them, but you know that the pitch is a little different. So it opens with his use of the volume pedal while the acoustic is doing its, that we learned about. So you can play these in many different ways. What seems natural to me is to do like an octave at the, like a C-shaped interval octave on the 5th fret and the second, I mean the 5th string and the 2nd string. And then here's sort of where I'm landing when I'm doing it, and I'm just rolling the volume pedal forward to swell into the note. And what I'm trying to do, what sound like Pete's doing, is you don't want to hear the picking, you know, you don't want to hear the pick. You just want to hear the sound as the strings are ringing going in. But here's where it is. So like I said, you could do octaves in different ways. You know what I mean? But that's what seems natural to me, right? With minimal movement. And you can hear him sort of roll up the volume, and it starts feeding back because these things are hollow. Great. It's like right on the edge of feedback. And then, yeah, so then it breaks into your sort of verse formation, chords. So he's now playing, remember, he's tuned down half a step, so his chord shapes to make a B flat in pitch. You're playing a B now. And what he's going to be doing a lot of throughout this whole thing is, it's a lot of second, third, and fourth string. Maybe not full chords every time, right? So it's that kind of stuff. But here's his sort of standard verse format that he does. Or this E power chord. Right? So you're sort of playing with this B shape, and you hear him hit the string. And you're just hitting that D, just the D power chord. Just those. And then a quick jump to an E shape. And if you want to fret the whole thing, you just want to make sure you're not doing that you're not playing like the major third, because you sort of don't hear that. So that's what I sort of revert to, is that sort of shape. And most of the time he's just hitting the lower part of that chord. And then this transition to the D, the first couple verses, he does. Isn't that great? It's a pull. I think it's a pull off, but what he's doing is. Isn't that great? And then there's fills that take us back into the second or the next part of the verse, or I guess the next verse, right? The first sort of riff that he does is leaving your open string, your first string open, and he's just doing a descending run on your second string while letting your open string ring. And the notes are. Right? If I were to put it on a scale, so it's like a pentatonic or bluesy kind of sound. But you have that string ringing the whole time. Back again. And then he finishes it off with this great run. Just that little thing that we do. Right, that we play with around that E chord. Then your chorus is now a G. And it's funny, you hear it, it's just sort of like he's emphasizing like that third, open third and fourth string. It's not necessarily big every single time, but I think he frets it this way and he's just sort of hitting. He's gonna play a riff each time following the chorus, and the first riff that he does is it's going to be based off of this B shape right here, and it sounds like this. He loves that A over B thing on so many songs. Yeah, so you're just playing around that B chord. Slides up into that pentatonic run. You hear him quickly hit this open. And we're back into our verse. Then he's going to continue that mid-verse run like the last time we did that single string. Right? This time he's going to start with the unison tone at the 5th fret. He's going to work his way up, and it sounds something like this. And then back into our verse again. Then closing out that next verse, he's got the similar but a little bit different run. Last time we did this, right, that thing. He's going to do something in that vein, but it's going to go like this. Or it's going to end like that. But just playing with those parts, like you're just doing that. Ain't noise pollution. But that's another lesson for another day. Yeah. Chorus. And then the riff that's going to close off this part of the verse is built off of this B major pentatonic, that B position. You're going to be doing those double stop things, but it's something like this. That's the first half. And then the second half is something like... He hits that little open thing again. He's just having fun with this thing. There's something like that, but there's that A over B again. And then it goes into our bridge section where you have the pretty arpeggiating 12 string, and he's going to go back to his volume pedal swells. And this time they're not octaves. And so you can play them wherever, but I play them here. Like, think of an E chord, so I think of it as, you hear them slide up. And the second time, and that's it. So everything is right here. It's like right off of that D-shaped A position, right? That's really it for that. And then as it sort of picks up intensity, he does this really interesting light sort of arpeggiating on the electric behind the synthesizer that's going on. So he's just going to fret the chord. It's sort of building off of what the acoustic is doing, and he's just arpeggiating up and down on those two shapes. Then he throws this thing in. Ends it with. So that's sort of the three chord shapes that you want to play around with. It's that one, this one, and then this one where you're just moving your pinky over the first string. But it's all right there. If you're working harder than that, it's probably not how they did it. Then we're into our sort of last verse, so that's sort of played similarly. This little riff is similar to the B major riff, but he's playing it off of the E position. He hits that little open. Back to the second half. So this last riff is off of, it starts off with the unison, and he's going to go down, and then he's going to hammer onto it. So all those are just playing around that E chord and how you just sort of build up. So it's every variation that you could think of in that sort of space, but this riff is... You could do it just easier on the first three strings. But I swear I hear that. I think he's doing some crazy Pete thing with his making the full chord. And then your last chorus. And it just, he does a few more measures of this. And then it's just a jam on that sort of B chord in every possible way. You know, it's more, I've got it all tabbed out on the Patreon, but it's, you know, he's down here. He's doing that kind of stuff. You know, all those sort of same formations that he's hit on in the previous. Then it goes to the several measures of that, and the guitar that he layers in on the outro there is just different variations of or it could be up there, could be on this position. Anyway, you'll hear it. Give it a listen. I've got it all tabbed out. Yeah. So that is the guitar magistry of Pete Townshend as it's on display in this song Bargain by The Who from 1971, and I hope you learned something new today. So if this is something you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell and give me a thumbs up. Bell will tell you when I drop new content. I do that every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on, do something similar, let me know what that is too. And until next week, take care everybody.